I would like to give an apology for statues because I think statues are great in the right context because they can draw you
defensive statues.
Defensive statues because they can like if you have good statues of like great men, they can remind you of these people, remind you of different things, virtues. I mean, the intent could have been better.
Like saints?
Just not worshiping them or praying to them. But yeah, of course. Actually, yes. Having a statue of like a church father or a reminder of them, or it's a good thing.
It's the Reform or Die podcast, where nothing is off limits and everything must be reformed.
All right, welcome back. It's the Reform or Die podcast. We've got a full house today here at Kyle's apartment. So we've got Barry.
Greetings, Kyle.
Good job with the mic discipline today, Barry. You've already had a good start there. Jacob.
Hey, Kyle. Oh, sorry. Hey, Kyle, what's up?
Oh man, the mic discipline's terrible. And we have a new member. We're going to go with member. A guest. A member. Brogan. Say hello to the pod.
How's it going, podcast?
All right. And Thatcher may be tagging Brogan back out when he has a really horrible take. So we'll probably just pass Brogan's mic to Thatcher here before it's all said and done. But yeah, welcome back. So quick channel update. And then we have kind of more of a current events stacked episode for y'all. So we have some things on the agenda, like talking about golden statues and tall churches and UFC things and
really big, beautiful things.
And big, beautiful things. And maybe even interesting movie casting choices. So what's to come. But yeah, I wanted to say that you guys can always reach out to us through the website, reformordie.com, and say like, hey, I want you guys to talk about this, or I think you were wrong about that. We like talking with y'all. So feel free to do that whenever you want. And Barry has volunteered as tribute to help us with our Substack, which I have told him I would take care of historical articles, which we haven't released yet, but I've been negligent. But he's taking over some of that Substack stuff and has Barry, why don't you tell the people about your latest endeavors?
Starting this week, we're going to have a series of articles, starting with apologetics. And if you want to know what all of your favorite apologists get wrong about Calvinism, this is a great place to start. So Come on and learn.
Excellent. Love it. Yeah, we'll be trying to do some more things on the Substack, just different things. We'll be building out as we go. But all right, so I think we had an opening verse before we got into I guess everyone probably knows about the golden Trump statue, but that was built, apparently.
Big, beautiful gold statue.
Yes, exactly. Big and beautiful, of course. So I think Barry...
Don Colossus, I think.
Don Colossus.
All right, Barry, work on that mic discipline there. Yep, good job. All right, love it. He's pointing with the mic in the room. You love to see it. Barry, all right, you got our opening verse for us, so launch in.
1 John 5:21. Little children, keep yourselves from idols.
That was really long and tough to get through, so thank you for reading that.
You're welcome.
What was the 1 John what?
1 John 5:21, the last verse of 1 John.
Okay, so in reference to that, we have this week the Trump statue that was built. It is, I wanted to say pure gold, but I think that's a lie.
It's not.
It looks golden. It looks golden.
It is gold leaf.
So tell us about it, Jacob.
Yeah, so that'll be our discussion. Is it an idol? What is an idol? We'll figure that out, I think, maybe. But the 22-foot golden statue, once again, bronze with gold leaf.
Oh.
Nicknamed the Don Colossus. They just did a ceremony for it. I think it says May 7th, so pretty recent. It's the 12th. At
the time of recording.
At the time of recording, yeah. We're in the past. The statue... So I didn't know this before we kind of started looking into it. The statue is commissioned it was a $450,000 commission piece by a cryptocurrency investor group to promote a meme coin called Patriot Coin. So that's weird.
That's a cool name, though.
Well, so that's why they did it.
Yeah, but yeah, that is why they
I'm
did
trying
it.
to provide the positive, little bits of positive commentary that I can as we get into this topic. So Jacob's shaking his head.
You're
Look
doing-
how many
you're
more
doing
people
great.
learned about Patriot Coin because of this statue.
Yeah, I
I
might
think
have
the
to
name is
buy
a
it.
10 out of 10 though. I feel like the Don Colossus is hard. That's a solid name at least. They got that right.
Yeah, the name is interesting. I don't know if it instills confidence or what it really does for me. But the statue depicts Trump with his fist raised. It's reminiscent of the famous picture taken right after the assassination attempt, or was it in Butler?
Lest we forget.
Whatever it was in Butler, Pennsylvania. I still think it was an assassination attempt. I'll give him the
I was like,
benefit
what are
of
you
the doubt.
talking about?
There's a lot of
It's like, are you going full
controversy
lefty on
that.
me?
No, not yet. The sculptor was holding the statue kind of hostage because he didn't receive payment. And then I think there was kind of like a crowdfunding effort to get it finally out of jail. And it was in place, and they had a big ceremony. Pastor John Burns was in attendance there, and he, I guess, did the dedication. Some outlets were calling it a blessing ceremony. We don't really know what it was. We're not quite
is
sure.
it an idol?
Oh,
Or is it just a statue?
so my opinion, which is worth, whatever.
It's weighed in a statue of Trump gold.
Yes. I think statues are a thing that's kind of part of our history in America. I mean, up until recently, we had a lot of statues. They all got torn down, but it's very common for presidents or generals to have big bronze statues of themselves in a triumphant pose, usually placed in public areas or museums or places around DC. That's
On Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, Mount Rushmore. There's all these. We have a history of this. Most of the time, and I could be wrong. We can fact check. If you're listening to this and you don't believe me, you can fact check it. Most of the time, it's usually a posthumous thing, kind of something to pay tribute to the individual. And whatever you think about that, whether you think it's tacky or a good thing and it's beautiful and it contributes to our culture, there's different arguments to be had there. But I think the combination of the timing, there's some weird stuff going on in the country right now. Not everyone's very happy. Gas is pretty high. We got wars. We got lots of stuff going on. And it just,
You're about to say something nice about Trump, aren't you?
it seems to me
can feel it.
it seems a little tone deaf to be putting out a big gold statue of yourself at this point. I don't know if I'd call it an idol.
Well, did he commission it?
I don't think he commissioned
Okay.
it, but it's on his golf course.
I'm doing my best here.
So,
okay. It is a little odd. It is a little
it's
odd.
a little odd. And I mean, do you want to conflate idol worship? What do we think of Nebuchadnezzar? The big statue, and everyone had to bow down to the statue. Do we want to conflate that with like everyone lining up to take pictures with a golden statue? Is that the 2026 equivalent? I don't know.
I don't think so.
What do you think so far, Barry? And then we'll
I think
get
it was
Brogan
a
in here
great
too.
marketing ploy by these crypto people. I think the whole thing, they knew how much it was going to rile people up, how much attention it was going to get. They knew that Trump was going to love it. They might even get some benefits politically. Marketing ploy. And I think it's stupid that pastors are blessing it. That's absurd that they would do that.
Interesting. Wow, that is a hot take there. Woo.
Yeah.
Sizzling. Brogan, what do you think? What are you a fan of? Big, beautiful statues.
I would say I'm pretty close to Barry on this. I feel like it definitely seems weird. I think it's probably mostly a good marketing ploy. I feel like especially if you're promoting a cryptocurrency, just with how that seems to go ups and downs. I feel like probably just a smart decision on behalf of whoever was doing that. But I would say it definitely seems to me to have some kind of red flags as far as when pastors are blessing it. I think to me it seems weird. Like, I don't know, I think if you look throughout history, that could still be a thing. I don't know, even if you look like going back in history, they would have like, spiritual leaders as far as like wars, blessing wars. So that's not like the same thing, but to me, it just seems a little bit weird to have like pastors blessing, dedicating, something like that for the Trump statue. Seems a little odd to me. I wouldn't say that I think the statue itself's that crazy though, just because there is a lot of statues of whether it's founding fathers or, sports players. That's very common. And while the gold's probably excessive, I don't think it's necessarily makes it just like an idol. I don't think it's an idol just because it's crazy, but it's definitely, I would say, more odd than anything else to me, but not that it necessarily has to be a huge deal.
I could jump into. I feel like it is kind of strange. Like, I don't know that I would want a statue of myself.
What kind of person
thing.
would?
Well, I mean, there are some biblical figures who built golden statues, didn't they?
That's what I'm saying.
Like during their lifetime. But I mean, granted, they were
Nebuchadnezzar?
also telling everyone to bow down to those golden statues and worship, right? So I mean, Trump is
Come
not.
take a picture.
I mean,
Everybody wants to take a picture.
When in next year, when Trump is bringing people to Mar-a-Lago and having them bow down before the statue, then I think we'll have a Nebuchadnezzar situation on our hands. Or I think it was Nebuchadnezzar, right?
Donald Trump starts building a giant furnace somewhere. Right?
Yeah. We're like,
Well,
this is not good. This is not
that
good.
would be interesting. No, it's one of those things that I hate to see because I feel like Republicans in general are doing really well right now.
Hey, there's some positivity.
We've had a lot
Love
of
to hear it.
wins with some redistricting stuff. California is looking like it's kind of up in the air, at least some of the local elections in California.
Can you explain
which
the
is crazy.
redistricting stuff?
Can
I've
I
heard
explain
about this,
redistricting?
but what is the win that we had? guys know?
So the redistricting thing basically, and this is like very low level, like 5-year-old level of understanding for redistricting. But from how I understand it, basically they draw up the maps for the zones. I don't know what they call them, the districts, in a way that is advantageous for their party. Basically, it gives, and this has happened a lot. The left has done this a ton. They've kind of taken a place where there might be a lot of conservatives in this area, but they're kind of localized in a specific part. So they'll kind of draw the district around that area down to like minute little, like very, very tiny details in order to have that district be a majority blue. And if that district goes blue, then it has kind of a domino effect. And we've seen that a lot in some of the more liberal states, like Illinois is a big one for that. New
Illinois
York
looks like microchip. It literally has all the districts are connecting back to Chicago, basically.
They're
and
cut
it's
up
like
in such a way.
they're drawn out through the whole state. Like it's crazy when you look at how they've redone some of these the districting.
So
and everything.
the redistricting it just kind of serves to disenfranchise a lot of voters. A place where the split isn't that close, like it's pretty close, like maybe like 45, 55. It effectively makes it impossible for the right to win a seat there, essentially.
So I could give a quick overview if you want on some of the things. I'm with you, Jacob, a little bit low level on this stuff. But in Virginia, the Democrats paid millions of dollars to draw up a map that was basically overturned by their own Democrat majority Supreme Court in Virginia. It got struck down. So they were going to remove a ton of Republican seats basically from their state. Didn't happen. Currently, that's the situation.
I just randomly saw a post about that, and I was confused. So thanks for.
And then there's another case that went before the Supreme Court based on racial gerrymandering, basically like drawing up lines based on race, and which is hilarious. The Democrats who are not racists were basically using black neighborhoods and such, drawing up the lines such that they would know exactly where they could, write Republicans out with based on racial drawing of maps.
The party of slavery.
Yeah, right. The party of slavery is still at it, basically.
But wait, the party switched, bro. They flipped.
But I think that was like a 12, I don't know, was it 12 seats Republicans basically got back in the South because of that or something to that effect? It was a lot of seats.
It was a big deal. I mean, this whole thing is a few different states where this kind of combined with Virginia, with that getting shot down by the Supreme Court there, and a few other wins in different states. I think it's looking pretty positive for the midterms, which up until this midterms were looking pretty rough with everything going on. But it's encouraging. But that being said, we see these wins and then we see stuff like, 22-foot golden statue. Uh,
You've got like
I'm just
probably
not a fan.
more of
Not
a
a fan.
problem. So wait, do you think it's an idol, or do you just not like it because of like the situation we're in right now?
I don't think it's quite an idol, although I would not. I know that there are some people who this is their favorite thing, and they are bordering on idol worship.
Oh,
Yeah,
like they're bowing down to it, or they're
Well, they're
in their
like-
hearts.
Pictures.
there are some. There are
Blessing
some.
a statue is,
Yeah.
is bordering on idolatrous.
For the pastors to do it, you mean?
I would agree
Yeah,
with
I think the
that.
pastors are kind of out of line there doing that. And like I said, there's just some people who are very diehard. They have this diehard alignment with their political leader, whoever they choose to be their politician, their guy, and they'll take it to a level that's kind of crazy, you know. So I'm sure that is happening in some little microcosms, but I don't think it's like a widespread issue. To me, it's more so it just seems like kind of stupid politically, in my opinion.
Fair enough. I mean, I will say too, just so people think, oh, you might be listening thinking this is such a niche thing, right? But statues, like idols, people think of idols today as not like it was in Old Testament times, right? They think, oh, idols are just, you overwant something. You've placed it above God, therefore it's an idol. It can be anything. Your marriage can be an idol. A new car could be an idol. You know, that's kind of how we tend to think about idols. But there are legitimately real idols still built today. Like in Texas, I think this is in Texas, Statue of Union, 90-foot tall bronze statue to the Hindu deity Lord Hanuman. I don't even think I'm saying that
Yeah,
right.
I've heard of that guy.
But yeah, like it's in Sugarland, Texas, near Houston.
That's 90 feet.
90 foot tall. You know, so like these aren't just
How
like
tall was the Trump statue?
Yeah, not.
22.
I think he needs to work on
Only
it. then.
22.
That's pretty. That's
But
not
his
as big
is
and
gold
beautiful.
though. It is gold and was what $450,000.
Yeah, that's pretty huge, actually.
I would just say there is legitimate problems with idolatry happening in our country, and you know, you may just be thinking, oh, this isn't really an issue. This is a non-issue. It absolutely is an issue, and that's why I'm a little less concerned about a statue that when the Democrats get in office, they'll probably try to go pull down anyways.
Well,
you know, just like they did to all the rest of the statues.
I was surprised about a year ago. I worked with my job. I worked in just downtown Olathe, and I didn't know it going into the job. But once I got in there, it was like a Buddhist temple of like going in there. They had like a whole Ark of the Covenant looking thing and like a little. It basically was like if you had like a bed frame with all like the sheets hanging down and stuff, and then like a little chest and stuff hanging up there, and they were all bound down in there and stuff. It was crazy. I was like, I kind of got to get out of here. I don't know about this, but it's crazy. Like just in Olathe, like literally 30
Yeah.
minutes from here.
It's
It's
more
a-
than
That's
you'd think.
that's been there for a while.
It's
I
a
drive
real
by that
issue.
quite a
Like
bit.
it really is a real issue.
I would like to give an apology for statues because I think statues are great in the right context because
Like
they
a-
can draw you
defensive statues.
defensive statues because they can like if you have good statues of like great men, they can remind you of these people, remind you of different things, virtues. I mean, the intent could have been better.
Like saints.
Just not worshiping them or praying to them. But yeah, of course. Actually, yes. Having a statue of like a church father or a reminder of them, or it's a good thing. You don't talk to the statue. You don't view it as anything more than a reminder. Like as an inspiration, like, this is one of my role models, for example, maybe a role model type thing. You use a statue as a reminder to have a role model, to be inspired to be like this person. To have a gold statue, 22 foot tall of a living person, though, that's different.
it seems strange.
Different. It's different.
It seems a
than
little strange.
a motivational statue.
On the just quick side tangent, and we'll have to talk about this again sometime. I know we already did an episode on it, but the statue in Texas, the
Hindu one.
Hindu one, I think that's a broader issue, and it comes down to the immigration issue.
Oh, 100%.
I know quite a few people in Texas, and they've told me that the Indian immigration to Texas is absolutely bonkers right now. So they want to leave Texas.
Yeah, we
as a result
definitely
of it.
have talked immigration. It's something we should talk more about as Christians because it affects the country in very deep and meaningful, long-lasting ways, and not always for the better. Some things better, some things definitely not. So, moving on a little bit, there is an interesting I thought, really cool piece of news that there's a church, speaking of beautiful, big, beautiful structures, the world's tallest church is about to get its crown. It's a humongous cross.
How tall did we figure out how tall it was?
Oh, you're gonna put me on the spot,
I'm sorry,
aren't you?
I should have known
June. So it's finishing in June. It's 100 years after the, I believe, architect or designer's death. Let me see. The name of it is Sagrada Familia. This Wikipedia research I'm doing here is very, very important, but it's fascinating. If you look this church up, it is amazing looking.
It's like a Gothic style. Is it similar to the St. Peter's Basilica thing? Or no, not St. Peter's Basilica.
It's in the district of
What's that one
Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain, designed by the Catalan architect Antonia Gaudi. I don't know how you say that name. Gaudi. Largest unfinished Catholic church in the world. Hey, for our Catholic audience, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm
Shout out to the
promoting one of your
Catholics.
churches. I'm promoting a Catholic church. In 2005, Sagrada Familia was added to an existing site, and blah, blah, blah. Let's see, moving ahead, Pope Benedict the 16th, yep, I'm not Catholic, consecrated it, where I can't read Roman numerals, consecrated the church and proclaimed it a minor basilica.
Ooh.
But it is really gorgeous. You should look at it.
Is this the same one that got partially burned down?
I think that was Notre
Dame.
Dame.
Or that was Notre Dame, okay. I think
Notre
it's the
Dame,
same
very, very
style.
important.
Isn't it the same style kind of architecture?
Let me see.
It looks
look
similar to
similar.
me.
Combining
as far as just the
Gothic
pictures,
and curvilinear. I've never seen that word ever. Thank you, Wikipedia, for that knowledge. Art Minot forms. Very interesting. You can Wikipedia it, and don't believe everything you read on Wikipedia,
Yeah.
but it is interesting. Gorgeous, but
I mean,
I do think we should be promoting beauty. It's probably not gold Trump statues, although I love Trump, but probably not a gold Trump statue. But I would say, as Christians, we want beautiful churches. I think that's a good thing.
some
Church
Christians want beautiful churches. There's an argument to be made against them. I'm curious, does anybody feel that the churches that are beautiful and grand and real fancy, is it kind of too decadent? Is it almost
Nah.
excessive?
Really? You think so?
I'm asking. I love beautiful churches. I've just heard the argument. I mean, we're Protestants in the Midwest. Half the churches,
So we go to
half the
gymnasium.
churches are in a strip center and they have drop ceilings. So I don't know.
That is not true of historic Protestant churches, although unfortunately, and this is, something people talk about online, but a lot of the mainline Protestant churches were taken over by a bunch of liberals that don't really follow the Bible.
Yeah.
So they kind of drove a lot of good, well-meaning Christians out. But
I really like the beautiful churches. I think it's almost synonymous with like Catholic or Orthodox, that they have these big, beautiful churches that have all this artwork and whatnot. I think we should take that back. I think we should do a little bit more of that. I don't think it's wrong or decadent or excessive. I think it's really pointing to the glory of God. Now, there's obviously a way to overdo it, but I don't think traditional architecture is overdoing things. I think it's something that takes dedication and intention, and I think it's one of those ways that kind of delineates the church, kind of separates us and shows those people walking by. They walk down the sidewalk and they say, "Oh, that's a church. Those are Christians." They have a big cross on the top, and it's a beautiful building. And I think, I think it does glorify God when we build beautiful things.
Bring back the steeples. It's kind of like, I feel like all the churches that get built, because I think I would still.
we're working on his mic
I know, I'm
discipline
sorry.
here.
I feel like I'm holding it close to my face, and then
You're doing
I
good.
guess I'm not.
You
but
can really get up on that mic if
You
you
gotta
want to.
touch it
I
with your,
don't
with your
know that I like
lips.
that, but okay, Jacob. I feel like I can go back and forth on it, because I think I can really appreciate the beauty, and I think we need to bring that back in a lot of ways. I think you can go too far in the opposite direction, that it becomes about that. But I would say, like, nowadays the churches that get built are just giant warehouses, is what it feels like. It's a giant gray box, and I don't know that I feel like that is necessarily the way to do it. Of like, it seems a lot of times we're just building as big of something as possible, and we're leaving a lot of the beauty out of it. And so I think like bringing back some of the actual beauty that of architecture and making it look nice. But I also think that I can kind of worry sometimes that if we start doing that, then it becomes more about the looks of the church and the focus on the looks of it and not actually. I feel like I struggle with that on a lot of churches nowadays of like, we built a giant box and then the sermons that you're getting from it is very watered down, like be nice to everyone. And it's like, I just feel like we got to actually focus on some of the things that need to actually be focused on, not just kind of going crazy on a few of the easy things.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Barry, what do you think?
I think it's a matter of the heart. You know, like if you're in a congregation that's small and, you know, you're maybe starting out, you're in an area that doesn't have a lot of money, you can want to have a beautiful church, but you might not have the means. But we should desire to have a place that's beautiful, even if that's not the main thing. You know, if we have our priorities right, you know, the church is truly trying to follow God. Eventually, you know, you'll realize that, yes, it's a good thing to have beauty, but it's not the primary focus. It should inspire some level of worship. You know, you want a place that inspires worship and glorifies God, even in your buildings and in your music at the same time. So it's not a top priority.
Yeah, that's very well put.
Yeah, I think it serves a purpose. The architecture does serve a purpose. It's symbolic, you know, everything's very tall and, you know, these steep angles and they point you up to the heavens, right? And crosses. I mean, we put crosses in our churches. That's a symbolic, purely aesthetic thing that we put in our church. It doesn't have to be there. You don't have to have a cross to have a church, right?
What about a pulpit?
A pulpit, yeah. You don't really need a pulpit. I mean, a lot of churches don't have them anymore. They just have, you know, a guy in baggy jeans and sneakers.
The
with
way
a
you dress.
baggy
I mean,
t-shirt.
all of these things go together. The way you dress, the people singing.
I think all of it together, kind of like that reverence and the architecture that kind of points you to God. I think it kind of puts you in a different space. I think it really is. I think it's the right way to do it. I think it's the way they've done it historically. And, you know, I don't think the Catholics do everything right, obviously, but I think having big, beautiful churches is one of the things that they do right. And I would like to see more of that.
Yeah, I do like the high church feel when you enter a church like that. It creates a sense of reverence in you. And I do think that's Catholics and Eastern Orthodox, they do have a lot of that sense of reverence I think we could benefit from in Protestant land.
And Presbyterians and Methodist churches, but a lot of the Methodist churches are like a shell of what they used to be. They still have the beautiful church, but then they've got the rainbow flags inside. So it's kind of a disgrace. But those denominations traditionally, you know, they would also have a more beautiful building. And I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot we could say to it. I do think the beauty is a good thing, you know, like Brogan kind of hinted at. If you're making it an idol to some extent, then you can overvalue anything that's good. It's not an idol in that traditional Hindu statue, you know, sort of idol, but we can make an idol out of anything. So, speaking of, that's very interesting. This is a little bit of a hard left-hand turn here, but there was UFC news this week, and I thought it might be an interesting discussion to kind of talk about because, speaking of beauty through beating someone up, is it beautiful in a way, Barry? I mean, you like the UFC,
I
yeah,
think
or
it's
no?
beautiful. I think a good victory is a beautiful thing. I mean,
Okay,
there's
there it is.
great moves, there's great victories, there's strategy, there's toughness, there's resilience, there's heart that goes into these things, that goes into fighting. I'm glad that the country is having a UFC match for their 250th anniversary on the front yard. I think that's an awesome thing. I think it's a great way to honor America.
I like that. Okay, Barry's coming out bold out of the gate. So anyone that's not a fan of the UFC or Ultimate Fighting in general on the pod here?
I tend to like the UFC, actually. Maybe not the institution as much, but a lot of the individuals, a lot of the fighters, they are very dedicated. They work very hard. They're talented, and they go out there and give it their all. It's always cool to see humans performing at their peak, right? And even in something like that is violent, I don't think we're supposed to be pacifists as Christians. And I think I don't think fighting for sport is a bad thing. I don't think it's any worse than like football or soccer or rugby. You know, those sports are also pretty violent and they cause a lot of injuries. But I've noticed a lot of the individuals tend to be pretty passionate when it comes to their faith. I've heard a lot of glory to God, you know, lifting up Christ from these, you know, post fight speeches. I've heard a lot of the opposite too, but I think it's an interesting picture of it's a picture of the world, you know. Maybe put it in the frame of like a little bit of spiritual warfare or something. You know, you've got the good versus the evil. Not saying the fighters are good necessarily, because I don't think anyone's really good, but I think it's really cool to see, you know, someone triumph over someone who is, you know, prideful and boasting and arrogant and a hater of God, and then they go out there and they proclaim Christ and they give him the glory.
It's a picture of the chivalrous knights that we never got to see back in the Middle Ages. You know, the violent, masculine knights that would go wear Christ on their shield and their sword and go fight for the Holy Land.
Barry, you are just extra today. This is hilarious.
I'm here for that.
I'm not calling for a crusade today.
So
Next week.
You never
Maybe
know.
next
Barry
week.
might be calling for
Maybe
who knows?
tomorrow. We'll see.
So Barry, who was the fighter that I don't remember what division he's in? Is it middleweight? I don't remember. What's Strickland in? Sean Strickland. Do you know what division?
Man,
he's
we
in?
should know this.
I don't know, but he had a pretty big fight.
We're getting heavy, possibly. Is that
No,
our
no,
sources?
he's not a
Light heavy.
heavyweight. Maybe I don't know. Bigger guy, but yeah, no, he had a fight this week that was. I've always felt I'll provide some of the counterpoints here. I've always felt a little weird around UFC culture because it's like feels like it's glorifying violence, which, like I don't know that we should be glorifying violence necessarily, but on the other hand, the way that the culture of the UFC is very protective of its fighters by and large, which helps me to appreciate it a little bit more. And the thing is, if you think sports like boxing are more okay, the funny thing is boxing actually might be harder on the body than ultimate fighting, which is kind of strange. But true, I think, because you take so many more headshots, and if you get knocked down, you have to wait until you can, like, you're almost half already knocked out and then you get back up. It's like there's a lot going on there for boxing. Whereas
I'd make an
UFC, you can get
argument-
takedown in a lot of ways, you know?
I'd make an argument, Kyle, that violence could even be a Christian virtue if it's used in the right way. That violence in and of itself isn't wrong, and it could be a good thing.
Okay, explain yourself a little bit.
Because violence against sin, you know, killing sin, there's all these pictures of killing sin in a spiritual sense. But there's also a picture of defending against evil to some extent. You know, Presbyterians believed, and Christians in general were part of the Revolutionary War, believing fighting against tyranny was a good thing. It was better to have a Christian republic. You know, these ideas of fighting for God and being violent, being able to stand up for what you believe to help the people around you is a good thing. The violence for the sake of violence, maybe not. But I think there's a higher purpose that these guys are fighting for. They're fighting for a sport. They're fighting for something higher than them. Well, some of them fight for themselves, but the guys that are fun to watch usually have a higher purpose that they're fighting for.
I was thinking you see like imagery of it, whether it's the like spiritual armor, like the shield of faith and sword of the spirit, all those things. It's definitely imagery in the Bible of defending yourself. And I think obviously, you know, if you're talking like the Old Testament, that was probably more common of like they're actually fighting wars every day.
David.
Yeah, like
Samson.
David. But I think while you don't need to encourage violence in an excessive sense, I do think having, in some sense, violence, or at least understanding and having respect for it. I also think, like the UFC, while it is very violent, I think compared to a lot of sports, it's just more of your definition on also what you're used to. And while that can have a pro and con, I think, like you could say football's crazy violent if all you'd ever watched was golf. But like, in some sense, football then doesn't look like much compared to UFC. So it's just more of what you're used to as far as like that goes. And I feel like it's more the symbolism and how it's used and having respect for it. I also think until you understand, not that I by any means understand UFC well, but like once you have a respect for like what they're actually doing, I think if you just like turned on UFC and we're like, what are we watching? We're literally just watching two guys like go fight each other. But like the mental game and the months leading up to that the dudes are fighting to like in their talking, but then also just in the actual ring of like, yes, they're throwing punches, but like so much. I feel like I've come to respect a lot more seeing like just little snippets and learning little bits more of like the focus and like it isn't just like they are watching this dude throw punches at them. It's like they spent 3 rounds learning that every time this guy takes that step back, this is what the next move he's going to do. And so it's like actually a lot of like skill and understanding, I think, that goes into that you respect more once you understand it.
Controlled violence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also not a fight to the death.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been people who have died, but that happens a lot in all sorts of things, including football. But it's not necessarily, I wouldn't call it like a 1-to-1 for like gladiators back in the old Roman times. And I think a good comparison also might be like, think about like the police or the military, right? I think most people generally agree that the police and the military are a good thing, or at least can be a good thing when they are used appropriately. I think everybody can agree with that. What does it look like for them to be proficient and prepared to do their job? It looks like them going out, shooting guns, exercising, doing really dangerous stuff, fighting each other physically. They get hurt. This is what it looks like to be prepared and to be well trained and a master of your craft. So in a sense, it's almost like two individuals exhibiting their proficiency in combat. They're not killing the opponent, but they are exhibiting their proficiency. And I think we can all agree that it's good for people to be proficient in combat.
Can we all agree on that? I think you're right, but I don't know. Maybe there are people who don't agree with that.
I think some people won't agree with it, but I think they would be hard pressed to justify that position.
I think you could make a strong argument as a Christian. It's a better thing to be proficient in combat than not to be. Just like it's better to be in shape than not. It's a better thing to be able to defend yourself and your family than it is not to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think a lot of this kind of comes down to the lens you're using to view it through. So another lens you could use, or another frame you could use to look at UFC is there's a population. Let's say there's 100,000 people in America. Obviously, it's way low number, but just a round number, or 1 million people. Use that. 1 million people in America. A certain percentage of that population is going to have extreme violent tendencies, right? That's just the way the population is going to shake out. Those people will either end up carrying out that violence in unlawful and undisciplined means, or you can actually, in a sense, like say, hey, there's a path for you as a violent individual to put your violent tendencies into a disciplined, lawful channel that will actually be a place for you. And a lot of these guys that are in the UFC probably would have ended up in jail or committed some crimes. And a lot of them even say that.
Yeah. Same with military. A lot of guys in the military will say that they would have been a criminal or a murderer if they didn't go into the military. So
so if you think about it that way, like I have a little more sympathy for like the argument that UFC is actually a net good. Like there's discipline, there's structure, there's they're taught a respect for their opponents, and a lot of the culture I think that Dana White has kind of built into the UFC is like, hey, if you've taken enough physical damage, you need to like consider getting out. Like you want to live a good life past the UFC. And so like you've made your money, you got your money. So like you should probably consider retiring. And they do kind of talk to people about that stuff, which I think is good. So I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah, as far as like an idol or glorifying it, I think it can be a little glorifying, but I guess the alternative in my mind could be worse potentially for a lot of these guys. So it's double-edged to me, but yeah, I do think it's weird because we'll probably talk about it again when we hit, the 250th anniversary, but them having the White House front lawn basically or something for these fights, it's like, it is kind of bread and circusy feeling. It does kind of feel interesting, but I don't know. Part of me is okay with it.
Agree with. It feels a little weird to have it like on the White House lawn. I don't know. I feel like I haven't necessarily thought about it enough to have a full opinion besides that my initial reaction says it feels a little weird to just do that.
But it's
like-
kind of like we're tough, you know. That's kind of
Dude,
the
Yeah,
idea.
which is part of it. I mean, I think I can see the respect and like it's really cool in some ways, but I also feel like maybe doing it like on the White House lawn to me doesn't maybe seem like the best way to go about it.
You know,
But
I'm always looking for the psyop. I'm always like very wary of anything the government does,
Not
propaganda. But man, I tell you what, for the UFC 250th anniversary White House lawn, I'm going to be wearing my American flag flip flops and all of my American flag clothing, and I'm going to be a proud American. All right.
That's going to be a great
Just
fight.
give me this, okay? I'm just going to turn my brain off. No critical thinking here, and I'm just
Jacob-
going to enjoy it.
Jacob and Barry are ready to crack their adult beverage for the
Yeah.
250th already, basically.
I will say, just on the whole like discipline and respect, I feel like there's so much like we've lost so much of that compared to even just like I feel like even our parents' generation or the generation right before that used to be so much more about respect and discipline. And I think I even look at like if you break that down to like parenting and how like kids are parented nowadays. And I kind of got to watch how I say this just to not go too crazy. But I do think we have lost like all ability to like discipline now. And it's all about being nice and just making sure everyone feels good and is happy. And I think especially if you're a Christian, it's like, well, discipline, like God disciplines us. He loves us and is very like good and merciful on us, but that doesn't mean there's just no discipline. And I think you can even see like what is happening. I think our world to me seems to be getting a little bit crazier and crazier. And I feel like it's because like we're just raising up generations of people who have been able to do whatever they want and get away with what they want. And there's never been any other discipline. And whether you want to do spanking or whatever it is that like you don't agree with, it's just the fact that I don't think there's any respect or discipline. And I think it's very evident and it's becoming more and more of a thing. Even I would say in Christian circles of like, you just kind of have to affirm everything. And it's like, well, we're sinful humans. This isn't going to go well. This is just leaning into our sinful nature. And I think that's a lie the devil has been able to sneak into. I mean, not only just the world today, but just even like Christian groups and circles. And I feel like in some ways, while it's a little bit dramatic to say that's the same as the UFC, I feel like I can see just there being a culture of more respect and defending yourself and also like having discipline and respect is something that we need more of.
Yeah, that's what I would have said too. Yeah.
It's also
Well
masculine.
put.
What'd you say, Barry?
It's masculine.
Yeah, there's a lot of masculine virtues in it. And yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of conservative values in the UFC. And I think a lot of that's a net good on the culture.
They do.
Think about what our country honored 4 years ago. What would we have had in the middle of the White House Square? A drag show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Transgender
Yeah.
individuals.
And now we're having two
Revealing
of the
themselves.
strongest, toughest men fight each other.
Best point of the podcast so far. If you imagine the other side having the 250th anniversary, what would it have been? Drag queen
Yeah.
hour down the White House lawn. 100%. Yep.
Fantastic. Yeah,
Yep.
but I will say there are also female UFC fights, which that is something that I'm maybe a little less.
But they're still masculine.
They are very masculine females.
Wait,
yes.
what are your thoughts
I
on
don't
that?
know, man. There's some part of me that just thinks that
It's not feminine.
it's
It goes
just
against God's created order of what men and women should be.
what Barry said.
Jacob
yeah.
wants to say, well, they're attractive, but they're really intense
No,
fighters, and
no,
some a little
no.
nervous, and that's
No,
what he's
they're
trying
terrifying.
They should
That's
go
what he's
back to
trying
the
to
ice
say.
skating rink.
Yeah, go
It's
back
fine,
to the
Jacob.
kitchen.
You
I'm
don't
just
have
kidding.
to.
I'm
You don't
kidding.
have to say it. You
I'm
don't have to
kidding.
say it. Okay, we get it. We get it.
I'm
No,
gonna get
it's a little
canceled.
weird. It's a little weird. So
Well, it's masculine and feminine virtues. We know that when they fight, they're fighting. They're the more masculine women.
Yeah.
I mean that's a given.
I'm not opposed to women knowing how to fight.
No,
to be able to
100%.
defend themselves. I think it's a good thing, actually. But maybe not the spectacle exhibition fights where they're. I don't know if you ever watched a female fight, but they almost always end up with just like bloodied
going
and
the-
battered. Like
going the
it's
distance.
extremely violent. They go the distance, and it's just constant. And there's some part of me as a man that just feels wrong watching two women beat each other like
We
that.
also want to watch the best of the best. And if a woman fought against a man would win. I mean, in the UFC, when you go in the best of the best, that's just what it is. And no, that's not disrespecting women. That's saying that there's certain masculine and feminine things for women in different spheres of life that you should live.
It's just acknowledging the biological differences, right?
And the spiritual
And the
differences.
spiritual differences.
yeah. So well, someone made a comment earlier about it's, nice is not always a virtue. And I was chuckling because one of our topics we were going to mention was that Immigration Customs Enforcement, I believe it is, ICE, renamed to NICE, the national.
It's national.
Now, have you guys ever read C.S. Lewis?
So now you get deported, Barry, but it's in a nice way.
Have you ever read C.S. Lewis?
Yes.
He has in his book, The Hideous Strength, his secret organization that's full of like these liberal bad guys. They call themselves the NICE, NICE organization, and they're bent on destroying everything that's virtuous and good. And
So we're basically going into dystopian C.S. Lewis now.
it's interesting
Yeah.
that Trump is the one that took the name.
It is kind of odd.
It's also reminiscent of like 1984 with the
Yeah.
Ministry of Truth, doing the opposite of truth. It's the
But it's also
propaganda
funny.
ministry.
Thatcher's like,
It's funny.
Brogan, can you let me borrow that mic so I can give Jacob a haymaker here? Thatcher, what do you got
Well,
for us?
And this is a CNN thing, and this is just the title from 7 hours ago. Trump wants to rebrand ICE as NICE. Not everyone agrees. So it's not
Ooh,
official
not
yet.
official.
He wants to do it.
He wants to.
I'm just saying.
Thatcher is our Jamie on this podcast.
Jamie.
AI
now.
overview, it says as of May 2026, Immigration and Customs Enforcement has not officially been renamed to NICE, while President Trump has endorsed the idea to rename the agency to National Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Such a change would, it goes on, I won't continue. But
Beautiful. Look at
it
that.
doesn't
Thatcher.
look like
You're
it's
right.
been
You know
officially
what?
done yet.
Thank you for telling me that, Thatcher. So now I'm going to make my appeal to the president because he's listening to this, obviously. Please don't do that. Just don't do it. It's not necessary. We just want them to be ICE.
Thatcher coming in with a haymaker. I appreciate it. I think Thatcher would have set us straight on the UFC too, but now he's handed the mic back to Brogan, so we may never know.
We're doomed now.
We may never know.
This is the Disinformation Podcast.
Yeah, if you want to get your disinformation this week,
Yeah, right-wing extremist propaganda.
I only had a couple things left on our talk about whatever we want list, but well, maybe a few. There was speaking of things that are beautiful. So I did go see Project Hail Mary. Really, really good film. I thought you didn't. Oh, Brogan's not a fan. Oh, okay, he is. I thought it was really good. It was just like an old fat. It's like going to the movie from a while back when the movies were good, and you knew you were going to get a decent plot.
Not gay.
They weren't gay. They weren't homosexual. It was just, you just got a straight good plot, like good characters. Like it was enjoyable to go to the theaters. But there's another movie coming out, which I only mentioned because when I was watching the trailers for other movies during Project Hail Mary, the trailers all looked amazing. And I was like really getting hyped to go see some other like movies in the theaters again. I'm like, wow, did movies get good again? Well, The Odyssey is coming out. It is Christopher Nolan, and I was getting extremely hype about it. And unfortunately, it seems to me that the casting has had some very interesting decision making behind the casting.
Before we even get to the casting, the translation that he used as the backbone was written by an extremely liberal translator.
Interesting.
Who purposefully, tries to feminize the Odyssey and make different points and different, gay references that Achilles might, stretching the edge of the translation. So that you're going to notice that if you go and see this, you're going to see that the translations not have the same feel as it would. And now what you were saying.
Well, yeah, so the last time that the Odyssey, I believe it called the Odyssey, the previous iteration of this with Brad Pitt?
The Iliad.
The Iliad.
Oh, it was called Troy. But it was based on the Iliad.
Yeah, Troy, thank you. And Brad Pitt was Achilles, back in his heyday, back in his prime. Now it's like Glenn Powell's the new thing. I don't know if he's quite Brad Pitt level back
I've
in the
never
day.
seen the Brad Pitt one.
You never
Is
have?
it worth watching?
It's pretty decent.
It's a good movie.
Historically accurate, of course.
I mean, it's a
So
Homer movie.
one of the things people talk about is like when it came out, it didn't get as much, to my knowledge, acclaim because it was coming out in similar time frame as like all those other amazing movies, like all the Lord of the Rings.
2004.
Like unbelievable movies were coming out back in the 2000s, basically. And this one was in there and it was like, oh, it's pretty good. And nowadays we're like, that movie's awesome, because the standards have gone so far downhill. But yeah, so they made some odd casting choices. So imagine Brad Pitt with the golden locks, longish hair back in his prime. And now they've cast apparently not Ellen Page, but Elliot Page, her rename I guess is her name now that she's going by. I said she.
Yeah, she.
Yeah, so
Um,
I don't know. She's like 105 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah.
And yeah,
To me-
they've cast a woman as Achilles. So
To me, it feels cruel. It honestly feels like it seems like it's not a good thing to do to someone who's going through that kind of thing in their life. It
100%.
seems just cruel and inhumane, and you should not subject people who obviously have some mental problems to this kind of attention and limelight. Because all this, I don't want to like say that this is going to happen, but I just feel like this is going to probably lead further down that path of disassociation from reality, and it's sad. It's really sad to see because Ellen Page was a beautiful young lady. I know you guys have all seen Inception. It was a great movie, great actress. Thatcher doesn't think Inception was a good movie. He just doesn't
Inception?
understand it. Yeah,
he
Inception.
doesn't have a mic, Jacob. That's not
The
fair.
Dreams?
He's
Yeah, the
screaming
Dream
at him
movie.
right now, saying it was an amazing movie.
Yeah, so Ellen Page was in Inception, but she was like, a normal, beautiful young actress, and now, the mind virus, to quote, I think Jordan Peterson uses that one a lot, or
A lot of people
Elon
do. Yeah,
Musk.
Elon does too.
The mind virus has taken hold, and people
Woke
will
mind virus is what you're thinking of.
people will say that this is beauty because this is her, expressing her true self. But in reality, if you look at it objectively, just from the outside, it is this. She's just destroyed herself. She's been turned into a shell of the girl that she once was, and it's really sad to see. And it's, like I said, sad to see that they're putting her in movies and just kind of playing into the delusion.
Well, that, and they've cast a black actress as
Helen of Troy.
Helen of Troy, which, like midnight black, like very, very black, like extremely black. Like, I mean, I don't know if that's historically accurate to ancient Greece.
I don't think it's historically accurate.
It's
No,
not.
It's not. Not that we have anything against
Neither was
black
Cleopatra
people.
black.
I just want to make
You
that
gotta
clear.
clarify it after what I said. Okay.
We can clarify that.
There's a wider theme of race swapping in historical epics.
Like Black Snape.
Well, I was thinking of Cleopatra.
Well,
Who's a Greek.
Severus Snape is now black, apparently, in the new
That too.
films.
That's not a historical epic.
Yeah, but that's
though.
not a historical
That's,
accurate.
Not true to the books, okay? Not true to the books.
Okay.
That's true.
Nerd.
Just saying.
I guess you can make the argument that the Iliad is poetry.
Like,
Or the
honestly,
Odyssey.
I think that bothers me a lot less than the casting a woman in a man's role than it does like race swapping, because that happens both ways, right? And it's depending on how it's happening. I have stronger or less strong feelings about it, I guess. Like,
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, they used to cast John Wayne as a Native American, chief. So I guess it has happened both ways.
yeah, it has.
Maybe not so much. Maybe not so much in the same way back
Well,
then.
and it just feels like one direction is very political when it happens that way, is how it feels to me. And that's partly why I have a problem with it that way. But yeah, the gender swapping and stuff is usually about it. Even like the Sherlock episodes that came out with Joan Watson, where they swapped out Dr. Watson.
Or Doctor Who. The woman
Yeah, like gender swaps usually just don't go over well with fans
Now-
because you've gotten attached to this character as a man or as a woman. Like, it just doesn't go
and
well.
there's huge differences between men and women that play out differently and whatever. But one of the interesting things is that both Helen of Troy and Achilles are very, very minor characters in this. And it's interesting that Christopher Nolan was going to make these calls, but make them minor characters that he knew would get a lot of attention, but wouldn't detract from the plot of the movie as much. Because we're not going to see much of either of these two people in the movie. There's probably only a slight flashback to the Trojan horse. We're going to see this stuff, but
Is it horrible though if it makes me not want to support the film?
I mean, it is, but I think that's part of the point. And why wasn't he brave enough to make Odysseus Elliot Page, who's going to be the main character? Because he knew it would look absurd and he knew it would probably be mean. But he did this on purpose so he could get his virtue signaling, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know why it happened, but it is like, it's a shame because it looked like it was going to be an awesome film and it kind of feels like it spoiled it for me. I don't know about you guys, but it really just, whenever a film whenever it feels political, like even right-leaning stuff, like if there's something that's really like feels like it's shoving down a right-leaning talking point to down a movie. Like I don't go to the movies for politics. You know, I go to Reform or Die podcast for politics. So
Wow.
and,
Amazing.
as
Selfless
you
plug.
should, dear listener. But yeah, no, I don't go to the movies to get more politics. I really don't. I like to check out and enjoy the movie. But then it's like, oh, that person got race swapped or that person got gender swapped. It's like, I just want to enjoy my movie. Anyway, all right, we can move on from that topic.
Yes, I think we've beat that dead horse.
Okay, so I don't really know too much about Reform UK, but huge win for up and coming Conservative Party in England. Did you guys hear about this?
I've heard about it because when you search Reform or Die on the internet, you get a lot of Reform UK.
Jacob has heard then. Yes,
I've
seen that as well.
It's a good thing that they're like, a conservative party that's up and coming in the UK, not like some super liberal woke party. That's nice. Happy accident there. But what do you have for us, Kyle?
Well, I'm going back to the extremely woke Wikipedia here real quick. I probably should, wait on that Grokpedia whenever it comes out, or is it out? I'm not sure.
It's already out.
It's already out? Okay. Reform UK, often known simply as Reform, is a right-wing populist, and of course they say far-right political party in the United Kingdom. Like I said, you cannot always trust Wikipedia. They do this to sitting politicians in the United States. They call them far-right, literally on Wikipedia. It's insane. If
far right in the UK today means like moderate right
in the
15
US.
years ago in the US.
It says that they're against immigration. They want to support America. They want to help the Americans in the Iran war. Those are two of their big things in 2026. They're against this climate change. So they say climate change is lunacy.
Ooh, lunacy.
That's what there you go.
That's a fun one.
This is what Wikipedia
one.
says, and this is from Wikipedia as well. So
yeah, co-founded by Nigel Farage and Catherine. I don't even know how you're going to say this name. Blacklock or Blakelock, something like that. In 2018, as the Brexit Party, advocating a no-deal Brexit. It won the most seats in the 2019 European Parliament election in the UK, but none in the 2019 general election. They apparently had a monster win recently. I thought it was like thousands of seats. It was a crazy win. So really interesting.
We've seen trends.
Love to see it.
We've seen trends with that. Following Charlie Kirk's assassination, you saw that massive assembly of 1 million, 2 million people in the streets. That was a Tommy Robinson thing, I think, which I don't know a ton about Tommy Robinson, but
he's awesome. You should love Tommy. He's fighting for the British people.
I think it really shows they're having a big change over there in England, and I think they're kind of ahead of the curve on us in this aspect. I think they have seen what unfettered immigration leads to, and they are sick of it, and they're already kind of changing course. And I think we're still kind of
We're in denial.
stuck. We're in denial. We're stuck in this limbo. We're still trying to work it out. We're like, well, maybe there's a really good way to do it where we bring in millions of people from other countries and destroy our job market and deplete our welfare systems. But I think eventually we're going to get there too. We're going to get to where the UK is. I just hope we don't have to have the same level of pain involved, because they've had a lot of pain over there. Tons of rapes and murders and just atrocities happening. And I'm really glad to see that they're changing this. They're stepping up and actually doing something about it. I would love to see us be a little bit more serious about it here.
Yeah, it's for real for them over there. And Tommy Robinson has been leading the charge in a big way. I think he's been arrested multiple times, been in solitary confinement, and the guy just doesn't stop. It's unbelievable what they've done to him, crazy stuff. Really a true patriot, I think. So, yeah, so we're happy for Britain in that sense that they're seeing some better movement on their side of the pond, as they say.
Yeah, we still beat them though.
That's true. Well, there was that crazy thing when because wasn't it the King of England came over and Trump had all the
King George.
he had all of the, instead of what do they call them? What are the British soldiers again? They had the Minutemen basically all dressed up like it was, at the White House, like in uniform, like the changing of the guard or whatever for, they had all that at the White House. It's pretty cool. You should check it out. It was a nice touch. He said some nice things too about England, but it was pretty cool. Did you guys want to talk about, like, maybe we'd do a quick teaser about a future episode?
Yes, we're going to do a future episode about this because I think it's a very important topic. I think Christians need to figure this out and actually think about this topic because it is very, very much in the forefront of the culture right now. And if we don't have an answer for it, if we don't have a biblically based view of this, then I think it can lead us into some uncertain waters. But there's been some releases, some government releases, the UFO files. Now, I've seen a couple of the videos. I don't think I've seen anything that's convinced me that there's aliens. I think I've seen a lot of weird videos though. And it's hard to explain. We don't really know what any of it is. They claim they don't know what it is. But if you guys have been on social media in the last year, 2 years, you've probably seen a ton of this like alien craze going around. A lot of claims everywhere from they're, coming from under the ocean. It's an advanced, breakaway civilization of humans, or it's interstellar beings that created us, or they're angels and demons.
Pacific Rim was actually history, not a sci-fi.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of theories about it. I well, obviously we're going to go into it more on an episode because I do think it's really important. It seems kind of wacky, but I think it's a really important thing for us to talk about. Simply because in this day and age with AI and with technology that we have, if you don't believe me, look up Project Bluebeam. There's some interesting stuff there. But
are you dropping some lore and I don't know what this is, so I can't tell you you're wrong? But unfortunate. I'll have to look it up.
If you look up the technologies we've had for a long time and the increasing, AI technology, it would be really easy for someone with bad intentions to create some, mass hysteria and panic among the population. And I think that could lead a lot of Christians who have not thought deeply about this issue to be very, very much shaken in their faith. And I don't want to see, some disclosure, Donald Trump standing in the Oval Office with a little gray aliens, and everyone just instantly throws their Bible away and say, well, I guess God's not real. So yeah, I think it's something we need to think about and discuss.
Wow. That really was shocking to hear the end of that.
Do you think those aliens had their own fall and redemption?
I don't know, but we need to discuss it. I think we need to do a full episode on this. If anyone's still here, submit your questions and your thoughts on the website, because I think that would be really good too, to hear from other people.
Jacob really wants to talk aliens. Brogan, what do you think about aliens?
I would love to be able to come back and give more thoughts on it if we do this in a future podcast.
Give us your elevator pitch.
I would say I normally lean towards that it's demonic or angelic things of some kind. I think there's too many stories and things and partial videos for it at all just be nothing. And I would say I tend to lean towards it not just being like a random alien group out in the middle of nowhere. But like God is also infinite, and like I also don't necessarily think it'd be crazy for there to be other created beings. That's a little bit of maybe of a stretch in my mind, but I guess I also wouldn't necessarily be crazed upon that. But I would say my thought process is that it would be angels and demons, just because there's a lot of stories out there, especially I haven't done deep dives into a lot of them, but if you just kind of look at the surface level of them, there's a lot of interesting ones that I feel like you either have to write off as being fake or have some sort of explanation for what the aliens would be. And I think to me, just because I think we'd all agree that like spiritual things are real and that like spiritual things can still happen. And so that's miracles, or I do think people can open themselves up to demonic things in some way. And so I think that there can definitely be demonic things with aliens. I would say I normally think it's demonic just because it normally seems to be pretty weird and sketch. And normally I feel like when God works through things, it's pretty like a good plan for it. Not that it can't be, something we just don't know yet, but that's my little hot take on it.
So yeah, no Clark Kent falling from the skies.
As cool as that would be, but
okay,
no, I don't necessarily think so.
Barry, any thoughts on that or closing thoughts?
Closing thought. I think like Brogan said, anything that we see on this earth is probably spiritual. But I think that if we did see aliens and life forms in other areas, first I would want to know if they had souls, if they were conscious, and they had some kind of morality. Because I mean, there could be lesser life forms on other planets, like, you know, animals, pets, different things that show the beauty of God, but maybe not necessarily souled beings. And if there are souled beings, maybe they had a fall and redemption. And I mean, this is more theological. I don't know the answer to this, but could, you know, God created us in his image. Does that mean our human form, or does that mean that there's, you know, Christ didn't die? I don't know. I mean, that's past what I can comprehend.
This is sounding a little Mormonist.
Hold on.
That is a little Mormon.
No, it's sounding like Barry's been reading the Paralandra.
That's what it
C.S.
is.
Lewis space trilogy.
It is from that. That's kind of the idea. I mean, that's where it came from, C.S. Lewis.
I love that you
Which is
said
a very
pets.
interesting book series, but I haven't finished it. But it's quite it opens your mind to just like thinking about crazy things.
The third
It's
one
kinda
was
cool.
really good. It wasn't about aliens.
I'm not there yet, so don't spoil it, please.
Barry, you had me at pets. I mean, pets, interplanetary pets. That one
Seriously,
really had me.
I mean, like
that's
cute,
thrown me for a loop.
awesome animals. I mean, that we're called to have dominion over. Maybe our dominion extends past this world.
We have to get to Pluto in order to
man.
subjugate Pluto, basically.
I
you
am
know?
so hoping for disclosure of cute alien pets on other planets. Let's go. I'm here for that.
I mean, seriously, that's doable.
As long
But
as
I
they
think
don't.
if they were interstellar enough, they had this technology to come to visit us. I'm sure they were more than they would have to be like intelligent and souled beings to have purpose and wills to.
As long as they
seek
don't
new
poop and pee in the house, I'm fine with it. If they do, I mean, I want to go straight, Halo space genocide on these things. I don't know what they are. They don't belong here.
Well, they'd be very clean. They'd have to travel light years in a spaceship.
I'm not, no.
My take on aliens is perhaps too boring, and so I will just leave it off there. Maybe I'll just save it for. I'll get a hot take on aliens for next time. Maybe I don't know when we'll do it, but we needed to have an.
You don't
alien
have a
podcast.
30-second segment for us on what you think?
I'll just have to tease it for the next
Are you
time.
serious?
You know what? Stay tuned, Brogan. Stay tuned. Okay. Well, any other thoughts? I know we talked about a lot about idols. There are real idols. There are manufactured of the heart idols. We should get Thatcher to chime in once more before we're all said and done. Give him the other mic because he's on the same mic. Yeah. Let's do that. Thatcher, any thoughts? What did we get wrong today?
Well,
What did we get right?
there's a lot of stuff to go through.
He's been
I don't
keeping
know
a
if
list
I can
over
go
here.
through
He's
everything.
been keeping a list.
I do want to pull up the tweet real quick here of the pastor. I don't know this guy, anything like that was doing the Trump statue. Mark Burns. He goes, today at Trump's National Doral, I don't know how to say it, Miami, we witnessed an unforgettable moment with the dedication of the 22-foot statue honoring President Donald Trump. Let me be clear, this is not a golden calf. We worship the Lord Jesus Christ and him alone. This statue is a celebration of life. It is a symbol of resilience, freedom, patriotism, strength, and the willpower to keep fighting for the future of America. It also stands as a reminder of the hand of God and his protection over President Trump's life time and time again. When his life was threatened, God's mercy prevailed. Today's was not just a ribbon cutting. It was a public display of a powerful movement that has spread across America and around the world. And he goes on with other stuff saying he's honored and everything and everybody that participated in it. I think that's the thing. I don't think this is an idol. It can be, construed as that, whatever. We don't have a lot of men in this country that are standing up to the evils of the world. Charlie Kirk was one of the best guys that we know, and it sucks. I've been thinking about it lately. Like, it sucks. It feels kind of like losing a brother, even though I never met him. President Trump is one of the few men in this country and around the world that has had the balls to stand up to the evil in this world. And we just constantly tear him down. And we constantly throw him into the fire. And we constantly do this and do that. And yet and not to throw shade at anybody here, but we prop up Catholicism as all these great, beautiful buildings. We don't need beautiful buildings.
Let's go, Thatcher.
Screw Catholicism.
Let's go.
I'm sorry.
Let's go, Thatcher.
It's not, it's heresy to me. I'm saying that everybody there is bad. I'm not saying that. I think there's good people there that we will see in heaven that will call themselves a Catholic, but they're not a devout Catholic. And we don't have that figure a lot of times in the world. And yes, we hold Trump up. A lot of people hold him up as that deity, that idol. We all know those people are cuckoo. We all know those people don't have it all together. And I don't know. I think there's a lot more important things to be talking about. Obviously idols are very important. I've had idols in my life, and I know, it's not good. But we take our time to tear down a man that is, a lot of us don't believe he's saved. I don't know if he's saved or not. But then we build up other people, and we were talking about the UFC and all these people giving glory to God. I don't think most of these guys are Christian guys. I think most people that are in the sports world that say, glory to God, glory to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, are full of it. I think they do it for clout. I think they do it because, it's the right thing to say. But I don't think it's necessarily true, genuine faith. It could be. I don't know these people's faith, but I can see the way they live their lives. I can see the way they handle themselves on the court, on the field, inside the octagon. I can see the things that they support, what they do and what they say outside of it. But yeah, I don't know. That's 2 cents.
I love it, dude. Dude, Thatcher was waiting to grab that mic, bro. He was sitting there with an absolute nuke, nuking the podcast right at the, dude, that was great, Thatcher. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we pile on Trump a lot. We do that. And it's important to, celebrate achievements. I think, what we were saying was that he's had a lot of wins. And yeah, some of these things are, it's like, oh, it's kind of eye catchy, right? And they do say to no press is bad press, right? So like even the things that are not good, sometimes it's like, hey, we're talking about Trump, folks. By the way, reform or die, talking about Trump again. Go figure. Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I do think that it's tough with the UFC stuff that, if someone's saying they're a Christian, I guess I'm not arguing with them 100%. If they're living totally reprobate, like you're saying, then yeah, you're probably right. We judge by the fruit,
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, kind of what the Apostle Paul said, like if someone proclaims Christ, we're saying that's a good thing,
Yeah.
Whoever it is, even if they're doing it out of bad motivation. So like I think we mentioned on the podcast before, Justin Bieber, proclaiming Christ, and even Theo Vaughn was talking about recently, just talking about different things in his life and, checking out Christianity and stuff like that. And we're like really positive towards that kind of stuff because we want people, our hope would be everyone comes to know Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. It's
Amen.
the most important thing. And right after that, supporting Donald Trump. No. No. So yeah, I guess that's my closing thoughts. Anybody else want to chime in before we're all wrapped up, Barry?
I think that what the tweet that Thatcher read about the pastor, he had a great intention by saying that this is meant to honor higher virtues, and blessing this picture of Trump is a good intention. But like Thatcher said, we think the Catholics are heretics, and they say the same thing about Mary. They say, oh, we're not worshiping Mary. But then they make giant statues of Mary, and then they bow to her, and they bless these statues and act this way. Like Thatcher said also, our Savior's Christ. That's who we should be pointing to. That's who the statues that's who we should be pointing to. And Trump is a great guy, and we shouldn't be knocking him. He's done a lot of good for our country. We shouldn't spend our time knocking him, but we should also call out our friends, speak the truth in love. Say, hey, this is stupid. We don't have to spend our time talking about it, but if we're bringing up the subject, is this an idol? We can call out, this is not a smart move. In my opinion, I don't think it is. But still saying that Trump's done a lot of wins, and he's better for our country than the last few presidents we've had.
Well, yeah, and I like what Thatcher read, the explanation, like, hey, we are not worshiping this. This is something we're celebrating someone who's stepping up for the country.
They
I like
say
what
that.
you said.
In my opinion, they're saying that, but their actions are showing something different by building this statue and by blessing it, making it
I can't say I've looked into it 100%. So you, dear listener at home, will have to do some looking up and then agree with Thatcher when you're all done. So I'm sure that's what's going to happen. So he doesn't have a mic. He's just smiling. It's great. Give it back to Brogan. All right. Well, I think, Jacob, you got something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I do appreciate Thatcher's comment there. And I think it is important that we bring up and highlight the wins and the good things. And I think the tendency for me is to be a harsh critic of the things that I think are problematic and are going to hurt the party in the long run, because it's our guy, right? He's our guy. He's our representative, and I want to point out the things that's like, hey, don't do this. Like, just not that. Do the other thing that you did before, because that was like really good. So that's kind of my heart behind it. It's not like it's not just putting him down for the sake of putting him down, you know. Ultimately, like, I would love to see Trump come to faith in Christ and like proclaim that, you know. I would love to see that. And I think that's possible. I think God is well within his means. I think he's very capable of doing that. And I think God is capable of changing this nation. But I think, kind of like we've said in the past, I think that starts with us. I think we as followers of Christ need to be active. We need to be engaged, going out into the culture, like shaping the culture and building up our communities and really modeling that for the world. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it.
Thatcher's vehemently agreeing. I love that. I think we just need to have Thatcher with no mic for the first 3/4 of every podcast, because he comes in with absolute fire at the end. Perfect. So and thanks for the fact checks. I love that. That was very useful. We need our Jamie, you know, our Joe Rogan Jamie. So I think that's it from us, unless anyone wants to chime in. Last 3, 2, 1. Okay. You can visit us on reformordie.com and write us a note, or, you know, if you know us, you can always text us and get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from people listening, and probably in the future, perhaps an alien episode, which I know almost nothing about, but I have very hot takes on. So boring hot takes, but all right. Love you all, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.